It's that time of year again where we're all trying to set goals and resolutions for the following year. How about we set some goals and resolutions for the things that really matter? Hello, welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support. On my channel, I like to give my opinion and perspective on things that are happening today, things that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. I do like to talk about current events and politics, and my perspective does tend to be more on the conservative side of things. Please be sure to like this video, leave a comment below, and share it with others. Also, be sure you are subscribed to my channel and help me to grow this channel to hopefully reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. So here we are at the end of another year, getting ready to start a new year, and this is the time of year that we're all thinking about, the goals we want to set, perhaps the things that we want to change, resolutions we want to make, whether we end up keeping them or not. No judgment whatsoever. But in that mindset, in that vein, where we're all thinking about the things that we can do, which, little side note, I always think is really interesting that we have that mindset in January, where we really think about the things that we can change, the impact we can have, the influence we can have, that we really kind of feel powerful on January 1st of every single year and recognize, all of the changes that we have within us to make just by taking action and setting goals and dedicating time throughout the day to achieve those goals. So, maybe a goal needs to be that we're going to dedicate more time throughout the year and keep that mindset throughout the year of being able to make an impact and to influence change in the world. So, and in our lives and in our homes and our families and our relationships and everything. So I think this would be a really good time to just focus on the things that we can do, especially when it comes to standing against this woke culture and this woke indoctrination that is specifically flooding our kids' schools, their classrooms, and just pretty much taking over American society and crippling us from the ground up, especially starting with our kids. On this little list of things that I feel like we can do, the first thing, whenever we bring up this conversation about what can we do to stand against woke indoctrination that is taking over our classrooms and our schools, and these activist teachers that are just bringing this nonsense into their curriculum, the first thing that a lot of people will say is pull your kids out of public school. Pull your kids out of the classroom and, homeschool them. And while I fully appreciate that solution and that option, realistically, I understand that that's not a feasible option for a lot of people. And thankfully, it's not the only thing that you can do, but it's always the first thing that people mention is to take your kids out of the school and homeschool them. And I know, especially in this day and age when things are so expensive and the cost of living is just so astronomically high, it is really difficult to survive on one income per household. Whether you're a single parent or you're a two-parent household where only one of you is working, it's really just not feasible. A lot of us, we have to work. We can't be home all day long. And even if we were to do that education in the evening when we are home, we can't afford the childcare to watch our kids all day long. So while I do appreciate if you can make that happen, if you can make sacrifices in your life where you can cut things from the budget that will allow you to live on one income while one parent does stay home and homeschool your kids, I understand, like I said, that's not a feasible option for everybody. So again, I appreciate it, but let's look at some other things that you can do, because it is really frustrating to be paying your taxes into a system to already be funding an educational option that, you know, you should be able to depend on for your child, and then have to consider, you know, spending extra money to do something else because we have people that are abusing the system. So it's extremely frustrating to even be in this position. But just because you are in a place where essentially you have to send your kid to public school, maybe there's not a charter school nearby. Obviously, a lot of us cannot afford private school. So, you know, public school really is the option that is best for your family. This does not mean that you are powerless or that you don't have a say about what's happening in the classroom. Just the opposite. Actually, the power still lies in the hands of the parents entirely. I mean, the left wants you to believe that you don't have a say. We've got so many teachers that are saying, you know, parents don't have a right to know what's going on in the classroom. Parents don't have a right to know if their kid changes their pronouns in class or goes by a different name, or, you know, has a completely different identity at school. They don't have a right to know what books your kids are reading in school. Despite the fact that that is the left or the message perpetuated by the left, it is completely false. It is completely not true, and just the opposite is true, actually, because our kids are our kids. We have the most power and influence over them of anybody else. But you've got to, you know, especially if you only have a couple of hours with them every single day, you've got to use that time wisely. So one of the first things, because we have seen this be effective across the country, is to know when your school board meetings are happening and to attend them. Because just like any change or influence that you want to have in your life, any change that you want to see, you've got to dedicate time and make sacrifices to actually see that change happen. Just like any other New Year's resolution where you would make, you know, a goal to go to the gym or to spend time prepping meals, or, you know, if you want to improve your finances, you would spend time, you know, you would set time aside to budget and to go over your finances and to communicate more with your spouse or partner about your finances. So any goal that you make, you have to set aside time for it. So if you want to see a change, if you want to have an impact in your school system, you've got to set aside time to go and attend the things that are going to have an impact. So you let's just pretend that making your that you're making goals for your health and fitness, and you're also making goals for your community to stay healthy and fit, and you're getting in the mindset of dedicating time to actually making that happen. So, you know, that's one thing. We have seen parents just show up in droves, in high numbers, to school board meetings to make their voices heard, to let these people know that they don't get to just have free reign over our kids, that we are aware of what they are putting in front of our children, and that we're not going to put up with it. So we've seen a lot of school boards in the last election where I know that we said we were really disappointed that the red wave didn't happen in the sense that we felt that it should have, or that we were expecting it to. But we saw a lot of school boards flip from Democrat to conservative, where a lot of parents stepped up to run for these positions, and they flipped those school board seats, which is so incredibly important. So get involved in your school board. Go to the meetings, know exactly what is happening in your school and who these people are and what they stand for. Also, make sure you know who your child's teachers are, and make sure those teachers know who you are, and that they know that you're involved, that they know that you're reading through your child's homework, that you are having conversations with your child about what they're learning every single day, and that, you know, if there are any issues, that you are going to have a conversation with them, that, you know, things just aren't going to slide. Ask for a curriculum from them. What is your child going to be reading? What is your child going to be learning? And if for whatever reason they decide not to provide that to you, take it to the principal, take it to the higher ups, because we absolutely deserve that transparency from our teachers, from the people that are spending 8 hours a day with our kids every single day. So if they are resistant to that, that's a huge red flag. Because obviously, if a teacher doesn't want to be transparent about the things they're going to put in front of your kid, that means that they feel that they're going to put something in front of your kid that you wouldn't approve of. So, you know, get to know the teachers, make sure they know who you are, and that that you're involved, and that you're watching, that you're paying attention, and, you know, make time to do that. Also, look to see what local organizations around you are doing, you know, providing transparency regarding the curriculum that's being put in schools, regarding events that are happening in your community, whether they be drag queen story hours or, you know, whatever else is happening. There's so many people, there's so many organizations that have started just at the grassroots level with parents just coming together to say that we're going to expose the things that are happening, and they're just looking for more support from the community. I know that here in Texas, Sara Gonzales started, I believe it's called Defend Kids Texas, where she, you know, notifies people that are subscribed to her email list of when these drag events are happening. She organizes protests. I know that there's things like Moms for Liberty. They have different chapters all over the country where they have moms that, you know, get ready to speak at school board meetings, or, you know, they just make parents aware of what's happening, whether it be on a national level or a local level. Parents that are just really getting involved, and that's pretty much what it's going to take. So find out what's happening in your area and support them in some way. Show up in person to these protests, show up in person to these meetings, show up in person to these school board meetings, and make your voice heard in some way. Don't leave it to somebody else, because these are your kids, this is your community, this is your city, and this is your country. So you've got to take an active part in making sure and getting it back on track. Also, and this is something that I love to do, find people that are, you know, whether they're holding an event or they're just out speaking publicly against these things. One of my favorite people to follow is Billboard Chris on Twitter, and he's the guy that he'll go around to different cities. I know I've mentioned him a few times in my other videos. He'll go around to different cities, whether it be to a college campus or a medical campus or just out on the street, and he wears a billboard that says children cannot consent to puberty blockers. And of course, this incites conversation with people that are passing by. He has been harassed, he has been, you know, assaulted, but he's also had some really enlightening conversations with people, and he's done a lot of research. He knows his stuff. So follow people that know their stuff. Listen to how they have conversations about these topics, and you're going to learn how to have these conversations as well with other parents, with other community members at meetings. You're going to feel that you're prepared for it, because knowledge is power. The more information that you have, the more power you're going to feel like you have, because you understand what it is that you're standing against, and you can make your positions known, and you can make informed statements about them. And you know, it really helps when we can bring the studies and the facts and, you know, legitimate talking points to these conversations, because these are conversations that everybody needs to be having. So find people that are already having these conversations, that are standing up and being vocal about it, so that you yourself can learn how to have informed discussions about them. I mean, I have already had to have conversations with my children about things that I never imagined I would have to discuss with them. I mean, when you're younger and, you know, your parents like try to have a discussion about the birds and the bees with you, and and it's awkward and it's weird. I mean, I wish that was all that we had to talk to our kids about now. And I always wondered, like, how am I going to approach that topic with my kids? I wish that was all we had to talk about with them now. I wish that is a mild conversation compared to the things that we need to be discussing with them now. I never imagined I would have to talk to my kids about boys that think they can be girls and girls that think that they can be boys, and teachers that are supporting this and advocating this, people that, you know, claim to be experts in education that are teaching this level of delusion in the classroom, and just, you know, the fact that we have people in the world that are actively trying to confuse them about their very identity. You know, I never imagined that I would have to have conversations with my kids about things like this. But if you don't have these conversations with your kids, and if you're not equipped with the information, and you're not prepared for it, somebody else is going to step in and have that conversation for you in your place, and they are going to flood these kids' minds with things that, once they're in there, are very, very difficult to remove, to eliminate from their psyche and from their brain. So, you know, and you might not feel like that's having, you know, that's going to have a major impact. But as I was looking at Billboard Chris and his account today, he posted a couple of messages from parents that have followed his accounts, that have listened to some of the conversations that he's had, and specifically said, thank you for the conversation. I listened to it. It helped me better approach these things with my own child who has been introduced to these concepts in schools. I'll read one of them to you. It says, "Hi, Chris. I wanted to sincerely thank you for what you are doing. I watched most of your videos, but took a particular interest in the last series of videos, the 80-minute long conversation. Anyhow, I'm a believer in things happen for a reason. Your conversation prepared me for a difficult one with my teenage daughter tonight, who disclosed she's exploring the non-binary identity. This was not a huge surprise to me and my husband. There have been other ongoing conversations. That said, I wanted to thank you because it did have a very personal impact for me tonight. Some of your points resonated with her. Have a happy new year." So she was already able to use some of the things that she learned from the conversations that he's having and apply them to the conversation that she had with her daughter. And a lot of parents are having these conversations every single day and feel completely terrified. They can feel completely at the mercy of their child that's bringing this stuff to their attention, and they have no idea how to counter it, how to bring logic and reason back into the conversation, and how to, to make their child feel like, hey, you know what, I understand what you're talking about. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're going through. Like, believe it or not, I have looked into these topics myself, and to approach the conversation from a place that's not fear, that's not coming from the unknown, and just completely being led by whatever your kid has learned in school. So another message that someone sent to him was, "We are at a loss. We feel like we are losing our daughter to this ideology. Last night was the first real open and honest conversation she was willing to have with us. I'm hoping and praying it made a difference. The points that really resonated with her were if it," meaning this gender identity thing, was the fact that we are, I'm so sorry. The points that really resonated with her were, if it was the fact we are more accepting, why aren't women in their 30s, 40s, etc. transitioning? It's just her age group. Shows it's evidence of a social contagion. And also the points of suicide rate decades ago being much higher if this was also a problem. I went to the rally in Nashville where Chloe spoke and intend on having her watch Chloe's portion. Chloe Cole is also someone you guys should be following. We are not giving up. This battle is extremely important to me, not only because it hits my home, but also because I hate what it's doing to a whole generation of young women. Thank you again for what you were doing and also for responding." And I love the points that she brought up here. If the fact that we are so much more accepting as a society to alternative identities, to different ways of expressing yourself, so people that are older, you would think if this was something that was, transgenderism was in people so much more than what we've been shown, wouldn't it be that people that are older would also be coming out and finally feeling like they can, be their true selves, if that's proper grammar. But it's not. It's just these young people's age group. And I've made this point before many times as well. We would have so many people in so many other different age groups coming out with some kind of LGBTQ identity because we are so much more accepting as a society, but we're not seeing those transition rates, and we're not seeing those coming out rates of other identities in all of these older age groups, because people that are left to grow and develop in a way that they feel comfortable without influence from the LGBTQ community, without this gender ideology influence, they will generally grow into comfort in their own body and their own skin and their own gender in the sex that they were born as. And that's just the way that it's been. So this social contagion, this thing that's happening with kids, is because of the influence that is happening around them. The books, the parades, the pronouns, the children's programming, the cartoons and the movies and everything else. So just a couple of examples of how just getting more information and watching other people have these conversations situation so that you yourself can be more comfortable with it, can really help in these situations when your child does come to you with these questions, because they are going to come to you one day and they're going to tell you something that they learned at school, or they're going to, you know, express something to you about ideas and thoughts that they've had in their head because of something that they learned at school, or because a conversation that they have with their friends, and you're going to feel more equipped to have that discussion with them from an informed perspective, and you're not going to be afraid. You're not going to be afraid to address it, and you're not going to feel like you don't have the answers for them. So, you know, just a lot of things that we can be doing as parents with our kids. And, you know, the world is telling us that we don't have any power anymore, that we don't have any rights, that we don't have any control. And nothing could be further from the truth. We are our kids' first line of defense. And these kids, they are the strongest warriors, I believe, ever to walk this earth. We just have to equip them. We just have to arm them. If we teach our kids logic and reason, and we pray for them, and, you know, we teach them love and acceptance and tolerance in the way that it was truly meant to be, they are going to grow up as lights in this world. They are going to shine light on things that don't make any sense, on all of this chaos that is happening, and they are the ones that are going to turn things around. But we as parents, while they're young, we have got to face this head on and not hide from it, and have the influence over our kids that we are supposed to have as their loving and caring parents. That is what I wanted to say today. Let me know what your thoughts are. I would love to hear them. I love having conversations with you guys in the comments. And like I said, please be sure to like this video, leave a comment below, also share it, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time I post a video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.